Let's de-influence you witch edition. I've been a practicing witch for over 20 years and I have all the things, all the witchy things, I got it. So let me tell you what you don't need, especially if you're starting out in your practice. First things first, you do not need really expensive grimoires or really aesthetically pleasing notebooks. I use these cheapies from Kmart, no more than $5, because I go through a lot of them. I fill them up quickly. I do plan on, making a grimoire in the future and transferring everything that I want into it, but I've been this way my whole life. I just use notebooks. Next is expensive tools for your practice. That can be things like mortar and pestles, cauldrons, offering cups, athames. This one, for example, is gorgeous and I love it. This was a gift. I never would have spent this kind of money for a tool in my practice, but I'm extremely grateful for it. Anything, offering bowls, whatever. I suggest go thrifting for them. Set an intention of what you're after, go looking for it, and it'll usually show up. Set a budget, go on Marketplace. It's the most fun, and practically everything I own has been thrifted or gifted because I use that so much in my life and in my practice. I come across the coolest shit, sometimes just laying on the side of the road, so definitely try that. Next is herbs and ingredients. You do not need to have a ridiculous store of correspondences to get going in your practice. This is the bulk of what I use. I don't need anything more than that, especially if you are an animist and you believe that each ingredient, each thing that is alive has its own spirit that you need to connect with and get to know before you can use it in your practice. It does not make any sense to have more than a few to start with. So pick the things that you feel most drawn to or correspond with the kind of workings that you want to start off with and go from there. And you can expand outwards as time goes on. Please do not drop lots of money on witch kits with 30 herbs in them. It's just impractical, and I promise you won't even get around to using them. In the same token, essential oils. I have a pretty big collection here. Again, I've built it up over time, but yeah, I don't reach for all of these all the time. Very rarely. I've got some in here that are still never opened. I have my favorites and things that, again, I've connected with and I use on a regular basis. So you do not need to start out spending a ton of money on a big stockpile of essential oils. Start with one and work your way up through that. Also don't need aesthetic pieces to hold any of your herbs or oils. Again, thrifted jars, like $1 each. Save. I've upgraded and mine, look a little bit more cohesive, but I've definitely used pasta sauce jars, that sort of thing. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. As long as it's airtight, it's good. In terms of aesthetics, it's really nice to have things that look witchy, so get creative and crafty. This box that I put my oils in, I wood burnt that myself and stained it to my own aesthetic and painted the inside, so it's me. The witch aesthetic, get crafty, and also go foraging. What can you find? What can you repurpose? And think about, a good tool like a wood burner to invest in. I think mine was only $25 and I use it all the time to customize things for myself and my practice. Rather than buying something off Etsy, which I'm not saying don't buy things off Etsy, but I personally like my own energy to be in the things that I make. And lastly, we have divination tools. You do not need every divination tool. You don't. I have every divination tool, I think, but you don't need it. This crystal ball, for example, I've used it maybe a handful of times. This was a birthday gift to myself a few years ago, and I do love it, I do, but is it practical? Do I need it? No. And the same goes for tarot cards. So look how many decks I have. It is an obscene amount. And I don't use them all. I don't. I read professionally and I probably rotate the same 5 to 6 decks. There's only one tarot deck that I use. The rest of them, like, there's other tarot decks in here, but it's mostly Oracle. You don't need it. Over time, something might catch your eye. I've definitely had decks that I've connected with immediately and ones that I bought thinking that was beautiful, but there's just nothing there. Yeah, so you do not need to have more than one deck in your practice. That is for damn sure. And other divination tools as well. These are Astro dice. I've literally never used them. I don't know why I even have these. Astro dice. Charm sets. Please don't buy charm sets. You are supposed to find each piece over time with intent. And they're gifts from spirit and they will correspond to the meaning as you find them. Please don't spend money on charm sets. Consider yourself de-influenced.